Let me ask you something. How much money would you need every single year to feel not rich, not famous, but safe? I'm not talking about lottery winning, private jet, buy an island money. I'm talking about the kind of safety where you can pay rent without holding your breath, where a surprise car repair doesn't send you into panic mode. Think about it for a second. Picture your life if you didn't have to check your bank account before saying yes to dinner with friends. If you didn't have to calculate in your head whether you can actually afford to go to your cousin's wedding 2 states over. Got a number in mind? If you're in the United States, there's been years of research that says the sweet spot is around $70,000 a year. That's where the average person's happiness levels off, bills get paid, savings accounts grow, vacations happen. Above that, sure, you can buy more stuff, but the emotional benefit doesn't really climb much higher. And yet, most companies don't care about that number. They care about their number, their profit margins, their shareholder dividends, their CEO bonuses. That's why, when a young CEO named Dan Price announced that everyone in his company will make at least 70,000 a year by cutting his own salary by 90%, the world just about fell out of its chair. It's 2015. Gravity Payments, a credit card processing company in Seattle, has about 120 employees. It's not a flashy tech startup with ping pong tables and kombucha on tap. It's a lean, focused business that helps small companies process payments without getting gouged by big bank fees. On this particular day, the team files into a meeting space. Some are clutching coffee cups, some in the back, chewing up breakfast burrito. The mood is casual, maybe a little impatient. The CEO, Dan Price, stands in front of them. He's not wearing a suit, no tie, just a simple shirt, long hair tied back. He looks more like someone who'd be fronting a band than running a payments company. And then, in his calm but confident voice, he says, "From this day forward, the minimum salary here will be $70,000 a year." A murmur ripples through the room. Oh, is this a joke? Is there a catch? Then comes the kicker. He's funding it by cutting his own $1 million salary down to the exact same $70,000. Uh, he's selling his house, downsizing his lifestyle, all so that his employees can breathe a little easier. Okay, here's the backstory. To understand how radical this move was, you need to know where Dan came from. He grew up in rural Idaho, the kind of place where winters are long, summers are short, and the nearest big city feels like a distant planet. One of 6 kids, raised in a conservative and religious household, Dan learned early on the value of hard work and self reliance. At 12 years old, he started his first business, fixing and selling guitars for friends. By high school, he was organizing concerts for local bands. He was driven, curious, and a little bit rebellious. In college, he and his older brother founded Gravity Payments in a dorm room. They weren't chasing tech world glory. They saw small business owners being crushed by unfair credit card fees, and they decided to build a company that would treat them fairly. It was tough in the beginning, long nights, low pay, and the constant question of whether it will all collapse. But they built a loyal customer base, and by 2015, Gravity was thriving. The seed for the $70,000 idea was planted in 2011. Dan Price was hiking with a friend named Valerie. She was smart, hardworking, and good at her job, but she was struggling. Her rent consumed most of her paycheck. Health insurance was expensive. Student loans were suffocating. She told Dan almost casually that she'd been skipping meals to save money. That hit him like a punch in the chest. Here was someone doing everything society told her to do get a job, work hard, and she was still barely hanging on. Dan couldn't shake the thought. Over the next few years, he read studies about happiness and income. Again and again, the same figure emerged: $70,000. That's where financial stress eases for most people. Started wondering, what if everyone at his company made that much? Advisors told him it was unrealistic, dangerous, but Dan kept running the numbers. And eventually, he decided the only way to find out was to do it. Okay, the announcement. We are in April 13th, 2015. The meeting that will make headlines around the world. The reaction in the room was immediate. Some employees cried. One said she could finally afford to have a baby. Another said he could move closer to work, ending his 2-hour commute. It wasn't just a raise, it was a life reset. Well, there was some backlash, and that was obviously going to be expected. But outside the company, there was chaos. Some media outlets called him a hero, others mocked him as a reckless socialist. Clients dropped gravity payments, worried that higher salaries meant higher fees. Dan's own brother, the company's co-founder, sued him. The lawsuit dragged on for months. Dan received hate mail, anonymous letters telling him he was destroying the company, threats, warnings. He ignored them. Oof, you have to. Now, what was the result? Within a few years, Gravity Payments tripled its revenue. Employee turnover plummeted. Gravity soared. People bought homes, paid off debt, started families, and a funny thing happened. Employees began helping each other. One bought a car for a colleague, another started a non-profit. When people weren't drowning in financial stress, they could dream again. Wow, that's so impressive. Your dream is valid. Now, what's the big picture here? This is about more than money. It's about dignity, stability, trust. Dan proved that paying people enough to live well doesn't sink a company, it strengthens it. Now, let me try and wind up and hear my closing remarks. So I'll leave you with this. What would your life look like if financial stress disappeared? And if you're a leader, what bold move could you make to change the lives of the people who make your business possible? Okay, and because generosity isn't charity, it's good business. Dan Price proved it. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like the content, remember to like, subscribe, and follow for more content. Cheers.